Suppose you're a kid in the 90s. You're about to walk into a theater to watch The Mask for the very first time. At that time, in 1994, Mask felt so different from other hero movies. The green-faced Mask wasn't just a guy with powers. It's almost as if he turned into a cartoon every time he transformed. Despite all the comedy that kept happening, the movie still felt so realistic. A huge reason behind that was Jim Carrey's portrayal of the character Stanley Ipkiss himself. Stanley was just a shy and awkward bank clerk who was trying to survive amidst people who are dangerous. The mobsters in the movie are threatening, and people actually die. But then, 1 year later, when the kids turned on their TVs, they found the Mask animated series. At first, the series felt like a continuation to the movie because it still featured the same Stanley, Edge City, and Coco Bongo. But the more you dive into it, the stranger it gets. The Mask becomes even more cartoonish than before, and a handful of characters either barely appear or completely disappear from the story. And all of this makes you wonder if this is even supposed to be the same universe anymore. The cartoon series simply revolves around the fact, what if Stanley kept the mask instead of throwing it away? Also, as you get deeper, you slowly start to understand it feels like a completely different perspective of the same world. So today, we're going to look at the biggest differences between the 1994 Mask movie and its animated series. From who lives and dies, to how the mask itself works, to why Tina Carlisle basically got erased from the continuity. The Mask's rules. Night only versus anytime. One of the biggest differences between the movie and the cartoon is how the mask works. In the 1994 movie, it was shown that the mask only works at night. It was nightfall when Stanley first transformed in his apartment. Although he does try to check whether the mask works during the daytime as well, unfortunately nothing really happens. The mask only becomes active again after sunset. I feel this is what makes the mask feel more mysterious and dangerous in the movie. Now returning to the animated series, the use of the mask is not restricted anymore. Stanley can wear the mask anytime he wants, be it daytime or nighttime. It doesn't really matter anymore. This changes the entire feeling of the mask. In the movie, the mask feels like a curse that only comes alive at night. In the cartoon, it basically works like a 24/7 superpower. The movie ends the mask, the cartoon pretends it didn't. Another difference between the movie and the cartoon is how they ended. At the end of the 1994 movie, Stanley defeats Dorian Tyrell, and after everything that happened, he decides to throw the mask into the river. This moment feels really emotional because Stanley is choosing to let go of that power. Although the movie does hint that the mask might not be gone forever, as Milo jumps into the water right after to get it. But emotionally, the scene feels like Stanley is finally choosing to move on from something dangerous that had completely changed his life. Now, in the animated series, the cartoon completely ignores the emotional ending of the story. It shows that Milo retrieves the mask, and even Stanley decides to keep using it. So as I mentioned before, the cartoon is basically built around the question, what if Stanley never truly gave up the mask? This changes the meaning of the mask again, as in the movie, Stanley understands that the mask is dangerous and he should not depend on it forever. But the opposite happens in the cartoon, as the mask is portrayed as something fun and harmless. So to sum it all up, the movie is about Stanley learning to let go of the mask, while the cartoon is about finding new reasons for him to keep wearing it. Mobster crime comedy versus Saturday morning cartoon chaos. Another major difference is the tone and violence. The 1994 movie mixed cartoon comedy with a serious crime story. There are mobsters, guns, bank robberies, shootouts, and real death in the movie. Not just that, characters like Dorian, Nico, cops, and gangsters actually die. Even with all the ongoing comedy, the movie still feels dangerous and intense at all times. There comes a point in the movie when Dorian uses the mask, and to be frank, that's genuinely scary because it makes him turn into a powerful monster-type version of the mask. The animated series mostly removes the darker crime elements, which makes the tone much more cartoonish and chaotic. In the series, violence is mostly harmless, and nobody really dies. From my understanding, the movie tries to balance crime and cartoon comedy, but the animated series drops the crime part completely. Tina Carlisle is gone, Peggy Brandt gets promoted. One of the strangest changes in the cartoon is the complete disappearance of Tina Carlisle. Tina is portrayed as the main female lead and Stanley's love interest. She starts off connected to Dorian Tyrell, but later helps Stanley. She also becomes one of the emotional centers of the movie. But in the animated series, Tina is completely absent. In fact, she's not even mentioned anywhere in the series. Instead, Peggy Brandt becomes the main female character. This comes as such a surprise because Peggy betrays Stanley to the mob in the movie, but the cartoon slowly changes Peggy's role. Stanley is initially still upset about her betrayal, but later, the show starts giving them a weird friendly or romantic tension. This completely changes Stanley's emotional story from the movie. The movie made Tina the emotional heart of Stanley's story, but the cartoon quietly removes her and gives that role to Peggy instead. The villains. The villains are mostly ordinary criminals. Dorian Tyrell, Nico, and the Edge City mob are the main threats in the movie. They feel pretty dangerous because they actually are gangsters. Dorian becomes more terrifying after he uses the mask, transforming into a monstrous, powerful version of himself. In the animated series, Dorian and Nico never seem to reappear, and the mob storyline also completely washes away. The cartoon instead introduces supervillains like mad scientists, demon-like characters, rival pranksters, and living cartoon characters. This again changes the entire vibe of the story. The movie's villains are dangerous mobsters, but the cartoon's villains feel like characters from a full superhero cartoon. Stanley's personality. In the movie, Stanley Ipkiss is shown as a shy, lonely, and insecure man who struggles in his everyday life. The mask becomes a way for him to escape from his normal personality and become someone more confident. This contrast between Stanley and the mask is one of the biggest reasons the movie works so well emotionally. Over time, Stanley slowly learns to gain confidence even without relying completely on the mask. Coming back to the animated series, Stanley still seems to be nervous at times, but he becomes much more comfortable using the mask regularly. Instead of treating it like something dangerous, he often treats it like a normal part of his life. Due to this, the cartoon version of Stanley feels more like a cartoon hero with an alter ego, rather than an insecure man from the movie. Milo's role. Milo doesn't play much of a big role in the movie, rather he serves as a loyal pet to Stanley, sometimes providing emotional support. He does manage to add charm and makes the atmosphere significantly light in comparison, but he is sadly not a major part of the story. His movie involvement is like a few funny moments spread throughout, rather than a complete role. But when we compare it to the animated series, he plays a much larger role there. The series actually manages to give him more spotlight, with a few action moments where it's seen that he's helping Stanley. The idea of turning Milo into a main cast member actually helps the series to lighten up the environment, and also helps to strengthen the bond between Stanley and Milo, which makes their relationship feel more surreal. That's it for today, guys. It's true that the animated series is a sequel to the old classic movie, but those minute changes make the viewers feel that everything is taking place in an alternate universe. Though it's the same old Stanley, the very same city from the classic, and most importantly, the same mask as well, but this time the rules of the game are a bit different in comparison. Different villains can be seen, and in addition to that, there's a completely different love angle. If we crawl back to the movie, Stanley was trying to control the powers of the mask, and later, he was trying to get rid of it. In the cartoon plot, the visual appearance of the mask has massively increased just to make the story more adventurous. A subtle shift of tone can be sensed in the cartoon here, from crime comedy to weekly cartoonish enthusiasm. For this reason, it does feel less of a sequel and more like a completely new venture. Let us know about your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed watching this one, please do smash that like button and share the video with all your buddies. I'll see you in the next one.